everyone, and welcome to this newest edition of A Question of Cosplay. This is Remleiz from 40k Theories, and joining me this week for this edition is Henrik Pilerud. So firstly, Henrik, thank you for joining me today.
Hello. Hi.
So firstly, what got you into Warhammer 40,000 and Warhammer 40,000 cosplay?
Well, it started actually with, of course, the figures for the tabletop game, which I actually then ran into at a store once when I was, well, maybe like 14 years old or something, a while back. And I bought a few and quite quickly found that they were more fun and cool to paint the figures instead of like airplanes and stuff like that and had been doing before, because they look cool with all the armor and stuff. Yes, so that's where it started, and I didn't really have anyone to play with, but me and a cousin of mine, we painted figures mostly for a few years, and then I lost track of it pretty much. And what got me pretty much back to it was the Dawn of War computer games. So that was like a new start for my 40k interest. And a few years back, when I got into cosplaying as an adult, I saw people making armor and stuff, and I thought, well, maybe I can make a Space Marine armor using similar techniques that I've seen other people use. Use building mainly in foam and stuff like that. So I found a pattern for the armor, and the rest is history. So I made it, and it turned out really great, I think.
And how long have you been cosplaying for now?
Oh, about 5 years, I should say it has been.
So take us through your process of designing a cosplay. You said you got hold of some patterns for the power armor, didn't you? So
yes. It's I used a method called Pepakura, where you can, if you have a 3D model, you can turn it into like a flat pattern that you can print out, like a sewing pattern. So you can convert a 3D model into something flat you get out on papers. And in this case, yes, it's very useful. And it's 3D models from games. This was taken from a game. Is pretty low resolution usually, which is good in this case, because then you don't get too much different parts. It makes it easier to simplify it when you print it out. So I used that, and I found that at a forum for that's called Obscurus Crusade. It's for people making Warhammer 40k costumes. So I used that, and it ended up a lot of papers, because it's a very, very big costumes. So a lot of taping papers together for all these big armor parts. But then you just cut them out, the pattern pieces, and transfer it to your foam. That can be some kind of sleeping pad or other kind of suitable foam that works well to glue together, and you can even heat it up with a hot air gun and shape it into shapes as well. But you mainly cut it out and glue the edges together, and it gets the shape of what the original had. So it's a very simple method to use to get something in the proper shape.
Yeah, it sounds like a really interesting way of doing it, because I think you're the first person who's actually spoken about this particular method of getting templates down to help build it up. Because I know a lot of people just tend to just get a huge lump of foam and start hacking away with a knife.
Yes, and yeah, you can do that as well, but then you don't really know where you end up. I've seen people do freehand work in foam, that's amazing, but having this pattern before, it makes it really easier to get the right proportions, because you know if the 3D model looks correct from the start and you follow that, you will end up with something very similar. So it's very helpful. I've seen many people do like Iron Man armors, which has a lot more details than a Space Marine armor has. So it's a lot more work with all these so many small parts.
Yeah,
the Space Marine armor has more big parts, since it's a very small figure in its original. It doesn't have so many small details, so that makes it easier. But it's a great method, and many others have made it after I made mine.
And what's the general reactions you get to your cosplays?
Well, if you're talking in particular about the Space Marine, it's since it's so big, it really makes an impression, and since I have built-in sounds and light effects and stuff like that, it's people are react to it because it's so big and it looks powerful and it looks very heavy and it sounds like it's some mechanical armor and not soft foam it actually is. So that makes a big impression on people. So that's very fun, because it's always fun when people like the costumes and want to take pictures and thinks it's something cool.
Have you had any interesting experiences at conventions or anything like that with it?
Well, yes, of course, and it's always fun, because you might think, oh, it's like 15-year-old boys are the biggest fans, but sometimes it comes like a 5-year-old little girl hugging your leg. That's very fun, because it's fun for all ages and everyone can think it's something that they like. And of course, doing a lot of pretend fighting with other cosplayers and posing for pictures together is always fun. Or if you walk up to at some conventions, usually you have some celebrities signing autographs and stuff like that. It's always fun to walk up to them and see if they react, and sometimes they come out and want to take pictures just because they find it cool themselves. So that's very funny.
Out of all your cosplay projects, which has been the most and the least expensive?
The Space Marine armor is the most expensive and also the one that has taken most time. I've been working on it for about almost 500 hours, and it has cost about, let's see now, about 3,000 euros. So it's pretty much, and that's just for materials, the cost for the materials.
Is that not including the electronics in that as well?
Yes, including electronics.
Okay.
and yes, all the stuff that it's made of. So that's the biggest one in both time and money. But like the alien xenomorph costume I have the head of that costume is probably the most complicated single piece of a costume I have made, because it uses a lot of different materials, and it got electronics with servo motors driving the tongue in and out, and a moving jaw, and the transparent dome on top of the skulls that was vacuum formed. That was pretty expensive to get. So that's probably the most complicated of all the stuff I have made myself.
And what was the least expensive or simplest costume you've made?
Well, the simplest costumes is the one you can buy finished. so that's the simplest. And I'm all for cosplayers to do the whole spectrum, from buying a finished costume to making every single part yourself. Is just as good either way you do it. And I usually, if I can buy something, I like to do that if there's something available that is good, looks good, and usually you end up building the stuff you can't get from anywhere else. So like the Space Marine armor wasn't possible to get anything finished, so I made that from scratch. So that would be the simplest, and there's so many costumes that somewhere in between. You make some parts and you buy some parts and put everything together that way.
And which has been your favorite cosplay project you've been working on?
Well, it's pretty much the one that you're working on is your favorite at the time and the one you want to wear the most when it's done. So since I just recently finished my Kylo Ren costume from the Star Wars The Force Awakens movie, I want to use that pretty much now. And I also recently finished my V costume from V for Vendetta. So those two black cloaked guys is pretty much favorites at this moment, I would say.
And do you have any upcoming 40k cosplay projects?
No, nothing new in the 40k universe planned right now. But I have some other stuff been planned, and there's some completely new universes that I haven't explored before. So I'm gonna test something totally new, but I'm gonna use a lot of the techniques I have learned from the Space Marine build in that build as well.
Fair enough. And would you ever consider doing a crossover cosplay, for example, like combining aspects from two different franchises into one costume? For example, there's this one guy who's got like a Space Marine power armor, but it's modeled after Pikachu from Pokemon.
Yes. No, I would never do that, I think. I'm pretty much... I find it awesome because it's true to the source, like a Space Marine is so cool just that it is, and I don't want to mix it up with anything else. So I want to keep my Star Wars Stormtrooper as a regular Star Wars Stormtrooper and my Space Marine as a Space Marine, and not mix things up. That's the way I like to do it.
There's nothing wrong with that, that's fair enough.
Yes.
Okay, and for my last question today, what advice would you give for up-and-coming cosplayers?
Well, look, follow other people's like Facebook pages and stuff like that. There are many cosplayers that share a lot of their processes. There are some good YouTube channels as well that you like Punished Props. They share a lot of their work, and that can help you a lot. And check out if there's a particular forum for your costume you want to make. There usually is, and you can get help from a lot of other people that has made it before you. And start small and learn different techniques by making small projects, and then advance to the more big stuff when you're ready for it.
Good advice to hear. Okay, so that wraps up for the amount of questions I have for you today. So thank you once again, Henrik, for joining me today.
You're welcome.
To everyone listening at home, I will put a link in the video description so you can check out his Facebook page and check out all his amazing cosplays from all these amazing franchises he's been working on. And in the meantime, this has been Remleiz from 40k Theories, and I'll see you all again next time. Bye bye.